Must see. Elon Musk confirms widespread voter fraud as millions of non-citizens get access to Social Security, Medicaid, and the ballot box. Millions referred to DHS for illegal voting prosecution. We've got all this and more on today's version of the Week in Review by Gateway Pundit. Welcome to Gateway Pundit's Week in Review. My name is Mike Mendoza. I'm filling in for Elijah Schaefer today. He's out of town. He's been having a little bit of, family time out in, I'm not going to disclose where he is right now. I think he's been talking about on social media, but he's having some family time. So, us and the crew, we're hanging out. We're making sure that he gets time to enjoy with his family because not a lot of people are able to do it nowadays, and a lot more people need to start doing that. So anyway, I'm joined in the producer chair today by Michael Hennessy, who you may have seen on this show before. Mike, what's going on? How you doing?
Hey, happy to be here, man. Happy to fill in for Elijah, help you fill in for Elijah. And I know he's enjoying some family time, as you mentioned. It's hard to find that nowadays with the busy schedules we got going on. So just happy to be here.
Yep. So anyway, so in the news, we're going to be talking about this right now. Must see, Elon Musk confirms widespread voter fraud as millions of non-citizens get access to Social Security, Medicaid, and the ballot box. Millions refer to DHS for illegal voting prosecution. Jim Hoft reports. There's also a video of it, which we'll get to in just a bit here. But scrolling down here, billionaire entrepreneur and Trump advisor Elon Musk dropped a bombshell this weekend during a fiery 100-minute town hall in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where he campaigned for conservative Judge Brad Schmiel in the state's upcoming Supreme Court election on Tuesday. Joined by Antonio Gracias, a private equity titan and a key member of the Department of Government Efficiency, otherwise known as DOGE, team tasked with rooting out waste in the federal government, Musk unveiled a shocking chart. A dramatic spike in Social Security numbers issued to non-citizens, soaring from 270,000 in 2021 to a mind-blowing 2.1 million in 2024. That's almost 5 million non-citizens now embedded in the system, collecting benefits, draining taxpayer dollars, and most alarmingly, infiltrating the voter rolls. This is a mind-blowing chart, Musk declared, pointing to the data. This wasn't an accident. This was a massive, large-scale program under the Biden administration to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the voting map of the United States, disenfranchise the American people, and lock in a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there'd be no escape. Gracias, which is funny because that means thank you in Spanish, it keeps throwing me off. Gracias, founder of Valor Equity Partners and a self-described son of legal immigrants, echoed Musk's outrage. We went to Social Security to find fraud, and we stumbled on this by accident, he said. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. My brother and sister are all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America. And there are a lot of good people in the system that pointed this in this direction. I want to honor them right now. They're working with the government today and took the risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on. Gracias continued, we found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid as an example. On every benefit program we went through, we found groups from this particular group of people, 5.5 million people in those benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records, and we found people here registered to vote in this population. And I'm not going to read the entire article. If you could just take it off the screen real quick. I'm going to go down to the video. Because obviously Elon just talked about this with this private equity owner. He can say a lot better than I can, as we all know, he's the leader of Doge. He's taking the reins on that. So let's see what he had to say. This is a 6-minute video. I think we'll just watch the first minute, see if it kind of covers the topic adequately. If not, maybe we'll tap back into it. But I kind of just want to get like a general feel for what Elon was saying in terms of this. So let me bring this up, and you can watch yourself and see what he says.
Strange trend here. Where how many Social Security numbers were issued? Do you want to?
Yeah. So let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
You want to talk about a lot of it?
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff that we're working on. You've heard some of that already. But this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just This literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America. And there are a lot of good people in the system that pointed us in this direction. I want to honor them right now, that work in the government today, who took risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on.
All right, so yeah, that was pretty much what I just read. I know we always do that, where it's like we kind of read the transcript of what they're talking about, and then we go back into the video. But yeah, I mean, you know, Mike, I would love to hear your opinion on this, but I'm not exactly pro legal immigration either. I think that America was founded by a certain type of people, and that we should keep it that way. And by the way, I'm half Mexican, so you know, just like this guy, I mean, he's Spanish himself. I'm actually a decent amount Spanish myself, but I'm like 30% Mexican. My dad's Mexican. You know, he's like second or third generation. You know, obviously there are high achievers from other countries that come here. That's great, but it's like, you know, it's kind of like when Charlie Kirk was asked by actually a guest of ours on the other show we do, slightly offensive. He was asked by this content creator, Ospill. He's an Australian fellow. He was visiting us the other day, but he asked Charlie Kirk, hey, what is central to the identity of America? Is it being white? Is it being Christian? Is it believing in democracy? What is it? And then Charlie Kirk even slipped up and said that, no, if there were 1 million new immigrants that were Christian, but from India, it would still fundamentally be America. But it's like, you know, I'm from Chicago myself. I used to live I used to literally live in Little India. And I can tell you, it didn't look like downtown. It didn't look like even the Ukrainian village. It didn't look like Southside Chicago, where Italian and Irish immigrants had emigrated to back in the 1800s. So, you know, there's an aspect of changing the culture, which, you know, yeah, I know people are touchy and they're scared of sounding racist and whatnot, but it's really not about that. It's really just that, you know, like, people come to America for a certain reason. They come here because white people, Europeans, establish a certain kind of community based on Anglo-Saxon law. And then that's why it works. You know, there's just not a lot of other civilizations. But Mike, I'd like to get your opinion on this. Like, you know, when you hear this conversation about legal versus illegal immigration, obviously we're all anti-illegal immigration. But I mean, don't you think that conservatives should start drawing the line on legal immigration? I mean, right now we have Native Americans, and I don't mean Indians, by the way. We have Native Americans, people who have been here for generations, who can't get jobs because of so many other immigrants from other companies who are taking high-skilled labor. I mean, you know, should conservatives start drawing the line at legal immigration because there's just not enough jobs, there's not enough opportunity for us here now? What do you think?
As far as immigration goes, I'm totally against illegal immigration. We have to be really careful about who we're bringing in. I mean, we've already seen horrible stories happening all across the country, multiple children being attacked, things of that nature. As far as legal immigration, I am not totally opposed to legal immigration. I do believe countries should be able to keep their identity. Mm-hmm. You know, when you go to Mexico, I believe that majority should be Mexican. I believe if you go to anywhere, Spain or, you know, any of those kind of areas, that it should stay the majority of what the original founders people are in those areas. Because a lot of times when we bring in too many people, we start to get to a point where we start to lose our identity. We have certain beliefs, things that we believe in. And when you have everybody coming from all over, that identity disappears, and then the unity starts to disappear as well. Right. Yeah. I'm definitely happy that we got these numbers coming out. I mean, we've already seen with Social Security, they have people that were over, I think it was like 160 years old, that were collecting benefits and things like that. And the Democrats, what they were doing is they lowered the floodgates. They allowed all these people to come into our country, you know, maybe for voting, as we're seeing here. I do believe it has a big part to do with that. So it's something we need to keep an eye on. I'm glad Doge is jumping into it. I'm glad that they're looking into these numbers and they're trying to fix and help save our country as much as we can at this moment. And the closing of the border is a great start, but yeah, we definitely got to keep an eye on everything. Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, and also too, by the way, I mean, Wisconsin, this is kind of one of these like weird states. And, you know, like I said, I'm from Chicago. I've spent a lot of time in Wisconsin, actually. I've spent a lot of time in Kenosha, actually, which is where the whole Kyle Rittenhouse stuff kicked off. And I never would have thought to see a small town like Kenosha be global news for the time that it was. But Wisconsin is a weird place because in 2020,
I think there were a lot of dead people who were voting, and you could even just access the voter rolls yourself. So, and I think that the turnout rate for voters was just I mean, this was well known before, at least 4 or 5 years ago. Elon's kind of just now figuring this stuff out with the stuff that he's trying to do. So, one of those weird states where a lot of weird stuff is going on, and I think that Democrats can think, or Democrats think that they can just step in and they can just pull all these strings and no one would notice, but we noticed, and we're starting to really actually hold people accountable for it. So it's great. Shout out to Elon Musk and what he's doing. I don't agree with him on everything. I don't agree with some of his buddies on everything that they want to do, but this is actually I think objectively a good thing, is that they're kind of digging to the data, because sometimes these normies just kind of need to be hit over the head with this data and facts. So anyway, on to the next story. Okay, so the CDC sounds the alarm as hospital workers struggle to contain an urgent threat that has a 30 to 60% kill rate. I feel like we've heard this one before. I don't know if have you heard this before, Mike? I feel like it's kind of this is strangely reminiscent of about 4 to 5 years ago. If you catch my drift,
it's giving me flashbacks. I'm just waiting for now all the TikTok videos to come out of everybody dancing.
Exactly, yeah.
Because we can't have a real pandemic unless we have TikTok videos,
right? Because
that really shows you the state we're in. But we're kind of bouncing around. First, it was the bird flu was coming and how that was going to destroy everything. And now it seems like we're moving towards something else. I'm not sure what disease has arisen now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and unfortunately, with everything going on there, we've lost trust in the trust the science quote. We're seeing the side effects of what happened there, the way that COVID that came in ruined people's lives as far as their mental health, their physical health, and let alone just the, unfortunately, taking the vaccine has had tons of side effects as well.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of interested to hear what this story is, but unfortunately it kind of gives you at the same time those flashbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's find out. All right, so let me just get into the story real quick. So it says here that a drug-resistant fungus is on the rise in American hospitals. It sounds a little gross, but I guess that fungi do kind of just they spread and everything. That's kind of just their nature. So a drug-resistant fungus is on the rise in American hospitals, targeting patients who are already reeling from illness. I think we just lost a word there. Who are already reeling from illness, I believe. New cases have been identified in Georgia and Florida hospitals, which is where we are, according to The Hill. Candida auris has been in the U.S. since 2016, but cases have increased annually through 2023, the most recent year for which the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have data. We've had 4 people at one time on and off over the past few months, and in years past, it was unusual to have 1 or even 2 people with Candida auris in our hospital, Dr. Timothy Connolly at Memorial Health in Savannah said, according to WJCL-TV. Joanna Wagner from the Georgia Department of Public Health said Georgia has had more than 1,300 cases through February. The fungus spreads through medical equipment that enters the body, such as breathing tubes, feeding tubes, or catheters. The kicker, traditional cleaning solutions or disinfectants do not touch the fungus. Many of the disinfectants that are EPA registered, historically used by hospitals and medical facilities, are not effective against C. auris, Wagner said. The CDC called Candida auris an urgent antimicrobial resistance threat in 2023, The Hill noted, and is sounding the alarm again. The rapid rise in geographic spread of cases is concerning and emphasizes the need for continued surveillance, expanded lab capacity, quicker diagnostic tests, and adherence to proven infection prevention and control, Dr. Megan Lyman, an epidemiologist with the CDC, said, according to the Los Angeles Times. Now, this is a little interesting because it's a fungus. And by the way, Elijah is the one who has he has a background in microbiology. I don't even remember what my last grade was in my biology class, but I'll just say kind of how Mike was talking about earlier from the political angle. I think a lot of conservatives, especially, are just once we hear about stuff like this, the first thing we think of is okay, how are they going to use this to achieve their goals, to achieve their ends? On one hand, I don't think that we should just think that everything is just a crazy conspiracy. I think sometimes things are just what they are. But it is interesting that they're saying that it has a 30 to 60% kill rate. They said the same thing about COVID, even when it was obviously not happening. I remember one thing that really woke me up about COVID, because I'll be honest, some people want to act like, oh, I knew from day one that like it was fake and blah blah whatever, and I wasn't gonna take the vaccine, this and that. I didn't, like maybe like a month, 2 months into it, I was scared. I didn't know what was going on, because I have a limited knowledge of what's going on when it comes to vaccines and stuff like that. But then obviously after time, if you have good pattern recognition skills, then you can kind of sniff out the BS. And what I noticed was that, I saw all these numbers. CNN had their ticker for like daily COVID deaths or whatever. I never heard, I used to live in Chicago. I never heard ambulances, like maybe one or two a week, which was like normal. And then there was a big park behind my last apartment, and I would go walk in the park. I would go for a run or go play basketball or whatever. And people are just walking around having picnics. That was pretty much the only thing that you could do, because even with basketball rims, they would take the basketball rims down. In LA, they fill the skate parks with sand. So after a while, it became more and more obvious that it wasn't what they were saying it was. It wasn't people just dropping dead in the middle of the streets, like how those videos from China came out early on, like showing people like being taken off in body bags. So, I think that's my biggest concern once I read something like this is the CDC going to use this to put people in their homes again? I don't know. I mean, like people are always worrying about the next pandemic. I mean, it's really hard for me to believe that it's going to happen again. But I mean, if you asked me in January of 2020, I probably if you were to tell me what was going to happen with COVID, I probably wouldn't have believed you then. So who knows? I mean, maybe I'm coping. Maybe I'm trying to because I just had a kid. I don't want to be in that situation again. I want to just have a normal life. I want her to be raised normally. A lot of kids were affected very negatively. They weren't able to develop normal speech patterns because everyone was wearing masks, and you can't really see how people talk, or as a baby trying to pick up on words and how to move your mouth or whatever. So a lot of kids are lagging behind still to this day because of that. So it's a sad situation overall. Hopefully it's not what we think it is. Hopefully, just pray and then just hope for the best, because we don't want to be in a situation again where we, can't even go to the grocery store, can't go to the gym or whatever. We just want to live our lives. We want to be left alone. And most importantly, we want to be able to make our decisions for ourselves. If we want to take the risk and then possibly get infected by a fungus, whatever. Let me do it. Okay. So anyway, I want to talk about one of our sponsors. It's IGF-1 by Neutronics Labs. So reason why I want to talk about this is because, men's testosterone levels are just through the floor nowadays. And you can see it in a lot of different people. I mean, just go to a major city. I mean, a lot of people are weak. A lot of people drink too much beer, which, gives you a lot of estrogen. A lot of people don't really care about their health. So that's why we've partnered with Neutronics Labs. They have this product called Man's Edge. Right now, I have the IGF-1 bottle here, but we have some more Man's Edge because the people here use it too quickly. But, lifestyle, diet, environmental toxins, plastics in the food and the water, whatever, that all affects your strength, your libido. It gives you mood swings, a loss of vitality, but Man's Edge specifically battles against that. So it uses powerful ingredients like fenugreek, IGF-1, NO2, which delivers up to 90% absorption for the maximum benefit. So it's not like just, some people say, I don't know, eat ginger or something so you can help your testosterone. I'm like, okay, that may help a little bit, but this is actually optimized to be taken into your system so you can bring your testosterone up. So it's way better. It's specifically made for that, and it's even trusted by Frank Stallone, who you may know as the brother of the popular Sylvester Stallone, and other thousands of men. So Man's Edge helps you reclaim your energy and youth. And right now, you can sign up for AutoShip and save 50% if you use the code Elijah for an extra 20% off your order. If you go to tboostnow.com, promo code Elijah, that's TBOOSTNOW.com, promo code Elijah. And also there's the buy one, get one free with AutoShip promotion too as well. So check it out. We have some right here. Like I said, the Man's Edge isn't in the office yet, but we have some en route. So you'll see some by the end of this week. It's really good stuff. So anyway, but check it out. T-Boost now, promo code Elijah. I used to always wonder too. I'm like, how can Elijah always read the website so quickly? Because he reads them so quickly. He's like TBOOSTNOW.com. I'm a good speller, but just trying to do it that quickly kind of just throws me off sometimes. So anyway, that's my first time doing that. I want to see how it would be. But genuinely good product. Check it out and tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below and tell me what you think. So anyway, all right. So back to the stories. Watch, give my regards to George. Elon Musk calls out a Soros operative heckling him at a rally in Wisconsin. I think we'll just go straight to the video on this one because last time I just like read everything and then it ended up being everything they said in the video. So let's just watch the video. It's a short one. It's like 40 seconds long. So we'll just watch it and then see what they have to say.
Yeah, it's really wild. So, like, I mean, it was inevitable that at least a few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regards to George. Say hi to George from me. USA, 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 USA. USA. Yep. I mean, it was inevitable.
So so yeah, with Elon, let me just close it real quick. With I said earlier that I think there is the propensity for people on our side, for right wingers, for conservatives, to think that everything is a conspiracy. I don't exactly agree with that nowadays. I mean, I've been in the conspiracy space for, pretty much my whole life. Ever since I was in middle school, even I was watching Loose Change back when I was middle school. So. I've always known about Alex Jones. I watched Zeitgeist when I was like 12 years old. So I've always been in the conspiracy space, which I think is why I'm a little bit more jaded than it or by it than I used to be. But specifically what Elon is talking about here, he's talking about George Soros. Now, George Soros is kind of like, or like, what he does is an open secret. Like it's no secret that he buys up radio stations. He has tons of NGOs that he funnels money through to achieve his own political goals. So I don't think it's crazy to suggest that, yeah, like some of these protesters, maybe even the ones that are being violent, allegedly, I'm not going to say that definitively for legal reasons, but maybe it's likely that some of these protesters allegedly are being sent by George Soros and causing damage to Tesla. By the way, I actually told some of my coworkers here about this yesterday in our group chat, but I was actually driving around a Cybertruck for the weekend. And by the way, it's a Cybertruck that's actually, there's a contest for it right now at 1775coffee.com. They're good friends of ours. That's not it, but whatever. We'll fix that in post. But yeah, 1775 Coffee, they're actually giving away the Cybertruck right now. And I had it in my driveway in my neighborhood. And then I started to get neighbors telling me that the HOA was coming and then trying to get the truck booted, and I guess they were going to tow it away or something, but no one warned me at all. And by the way, this Cybertruck, it says a bunch of stuff like no mandates, free speech rules. It also says no pronouns here. So, they tried to give me a bunch of this HOA gobbledygook, like, like you're actually supposed to register your car, and then like, because if it's not registered, then it could be anyone. I'm like, it's in my driveway. But I wouldn't be surprised if the HOA person in my neighborhood is a liberal or doesn't like Elon for whatever reason. It's kind of just like a funny anecdote that happened, but like I stopped bringing it around my house after that. But yeah, like now this whole thing with like Tesla is kind of crazy. And I think Elijah actually mentioned this the other day, that it's like when the whole thing was happening with Bud Light, so then conservatives were buying Bud Light and then like smashing it with baseball bats or like shooting it. Like it's like you're still helping the company by buying the product, even if you're bashing it or you're drinking it or whatever, like you're still helping it. And like I don't think liberals understand that. I think maybe what they're thinking is, okay, like if I bash up a Tesla or if I spray paint it, then people will be less likely to buy it, and then the stock prices will go down. And I wouldn't be surprised if a stock prices have gone down. But yeah, like it's just like it's always fascinating to go into the liberal mind and like think of their everything has to resort to violence with them. And Mike, tell me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like for the last 10 years, like, once I first started getting into content, I used to watch and I'm not so big a fan of him anymore, but I used to watch like Sam Harris or Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro or Eric Weinstein, Stefan Molyneux, all these people back in the day. And their main thing was about debating, was about presenting the points and then, having a healthy back and forth and then figuring out, who had the better idea. And there was like a discussion, but now it seems like liberals have completely just thrown that to the wind. And this is nothing new. This has been happening for at least 10 years in my political career. But even prior to that, in the French Revolution, in the sacking of the is it the White Palace of the Romanovs or whatever. It's always violence with them. It's like they can't discuss the ideas. Why is that? Is it just because they're not confident enough in their view? Because they seem to be confident in their views, but then when they're actually pushed, or when push comes to shove, then they actually start shoving. So.
Yeah, well, the big thing they always like to say is that they're the ones of like the peacekeepers, that we're supposed to be the more extreme ones that you have coming around. But a lot of times what we see is that maybe even with you're bringing up George Soros as far as things like that in the Black Lives Matter, when that whole movement was going on, the Teslas being destroyed. They have a habit of resorting to violence. I've seen videos all over the internet too, just freaking out because they see a Trump sign on your front yard, you know. I feel like they like to paint a picture to a certain extent of being these peacekeepers, but once they're cornered into actually bringing logic into the conversation where it's no longer based on emotion, now we're actually carrying conversation on logic. It's kind of like they melt down and it just turns to straight violence. You know, we're seeing that now with the Teslas being destroyed and in many other scenarios. So it's just, it seems like it's their go-to, you know, most of the time. They're definitely not the party of peace. And as far as this too is with George Soros, you know, it with the joke, I get what he's saying. Is there a chance the guy could be paid by George Soros? Yeah, there's a chance he could definitely be paid by George Soros. We know George Soros has funded many other times, you know, in Black Lives Matter, as I mentioned earlier. They had bricks that were being dropped off on street corners. You had all these people kind of coming together, even a lot of the protests that we see, you know, some I can't say that I agree fully with, but protests that we see across our country, a lot of them, it's like they're paid agitators. And I've even seen videos where people go up to these people and they say, well, why are you here? What is the reasoning? And they're like, well, you know, we were told to show up. So I would hope that our country can get together more on things that bother us and affect us, to come together and speak out loudly and protest against in a peaceful manner, of course. As a country, unfortunately, we don't do that much. And a lot of times when you see those kind of all come together at once, where it's just like a pop-up, it's usually because there's paid people in there just funding them and telling them what to say and what to do. So a lot of that going on.
Well, I saw a picture from over the weekend too of it was I think it was like a screen cap from a video, but it was someone at a Tesla protest who had a piece of paper in big font with like all the chants that they had for that weekend. So it's not organic at all, which is why, you know, and, you know, speaking of Elijah, like, you know, one of the main things that he first got a following based off of was doing man on the street content, because it really is amazing to see how they can't state their views. They can't explain their positions on anything. And that's why they always have to resort to violence. And the people like George Soros support this. Also, I may be wrong on this. And you know, if you're watching this right now, go in the comments and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. But I believe that Alexander Soros, who is George Soros's son, is dating or is getting married to Huma Abedin, who was like the second in command under Hillary Clinton. So there's a lot of weird connections there, you know. Like, it's funny because I was just talking this whole show about, oh, you know, like, don't think everything is a conspiracy theory, but kind of is, you know. So, you know, I'm gonna counter signal myself by saying that. So anyway, all right, next story. 250 years ago, Alexander Hamilton told us how to handle these anti-Trump judges, and, you know, we probably should have been reading into that a lot earlier. It's unfortunate it's coming up just right now, but this is also from C. Douglas Golden from the Western Journal. Great publication. Go check them out. So why precisely is a judge in Washington allowed to decide what illegal immigrants with alleged gang affiliations who are being detained in Texas are entitled to before they're deported from the country they've unlawfully entered? It's a great question. You know, there's a lot of conversation nowadays with like how we should treat illegal immigrants. Like, it's like, what, I mean, the fact that they get put up at 5-star hotels is just kind of ridiculous. But the fact that, like, we have judges kind of pontificating about like what they should be afforded in terms of rights that should be only afforded to citizens is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, but that's why we have the founding fathers, and that's what Alexander Hamilton might like to know. Yes, Hamilton might be the one founding father that it's okay for Gen Z liberals to like because they can spit verses from My Shot on command. Likely because the hip social studies teacher in high school let them listen to the Hamilton soundtrack for extra credit. Of course, it's Hamilton every single time. But before he was a rapping puppet for Lin-Manuel Miranda's take on revolutionary American history, he was actually writing stuff that didn't involve hip-hop jams with the Marquise de Lafayette. in particular, sorry, it's messed up a little bit there, but in particular, he was one of the 3 authors of the Federalist Papers, a series of 85 essays that argued in favor of the U.S. Constitution at the time of its ratification. And lo and behold, he has something to say about the kind of activist jurist like U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg, I don't know how to say his name exactly, who temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deploying a 1798 law to summarily deport illegal immigrants associated with transnational gangs. In this case, Tren de Aragua, one of the most powerful gangs that's thrived in the power vacuum created by the dysfunctional Maduro government. Given the exigent circumstances that the court has been made aware of this morning, it has determined that an immediate order is warranted to maintain the status quo until a hearing can be set, Boasberg, however you say his name, an Obama appointee said in an order March 15th, according to Fox News. Boasberg continued to block any sort of removal under the Alien Enemies Act by challenging the government to prove why each individual being deported is, in fact, an alien enemy. Before they may be deported, they are entitled to individualized hearings to determine whether the act applies to them at all, Boasberg wrote in a Monday ruling, according to the Miami Herald. Because the named plaintiffs dispute that they are members of Tren de Aragua, they may not be deported until a court has been able to decide the merits of their challenge. It's unclear what these individualized hearings would look like as per the Boasberg model, or even whether he then acquiesced to the deportations at that point. In fact, it's unclear what Boasberg is doing adjudicating this case at all, given that the aliens in question were apparently detained in Raymondville, Texas, a cool 1,700 miles from the District of Columbia, aside from naked venue shopping from the American Civil Liberties Union, better known as ACLU, who, because of course, is representing the Venezuelan migrants. You can do all that. You've just got to do it in the right court, and the right court was in Texas, said Judge Justin Walker, another member of the D.C. District Court appeals panel, when summarizing the government's argument against the case. The Trump administration has more or less telegraphed its willingness to ignore Boasberg and his ilk to the extent possible and let the Supreme Court be the final arbiter of the mess. Is this some sort of crisis for the rule of law? Not at all, if one were to read Hamilton's thoughts on the matter. In Federalist number 78, one of the most influential documents pertaining to the rule of the judiciary in the then proposed Constitution, Hamilton wrote that the courts have neither force nor will, but merely judgment and cannot effectuate those judgments on its own. Whoever attentively considers the different departments of power must perceive that in a government in which they are separated from each other, the judiciary, from the nature of its functions, will always be the least dangerous to the political rights of the Constitution because it will be least in the capacity to annoy or injure them, Hamilton wrote. So if you could take it off the screen real quick. So yeah, so it is interesting, like how I said before, that like, why are we even having this conversation? You know, by the way, if this was 100 years ago, you know, like I always think about the strain that the system has like on the police or on the judicial system, simply because we have third world people coming here who don't know how to act. And it's just like, you know, why are we putting so many resources into law enforcement, into the judiciary, and then, you know, also taxpayer money is going to putting up these people in 5-star hotels. You know, like there's just so many resources that are being wasted. It's like, I mean, I hate when people show videos of China or Taiwan or Japan or Korea or even like the Nordic countries, like, you know, like in Finland or something, where it's like, oh, like everything is perfectly clean. The trains run on time. I saw a video. I forgot which country it was. It was like Sweden or something. But people would leave their babies outside in the cold because it helped build their immune system. And like, you know, and not like completely uncovered or whatever, but they'd have them in their stroller with like blankets and everything. And they would leave them in the cold to like, you know, like maybe for like 10, 15 minutes, like help build their immune system. And because, you know, all their ancestors, whatever, they grew up in the same climate. So it's kind of just good to get them used to it. It wasn't inhumane. It sounds really inhumane once I say it, but actually was like, it seemed to be, you know, very well regulated. And like, but what I thought was very interesting about it was that, you know, they were able to just leave the babies out there and they weren't worried about them being kidnapped or anything. Meanwhile, because we can't get control of our southern border, we have to allocate all these resources to Border Patrol to the judiciary to prosecute and to hunt these people down after they've been here for years already. Law enforcement to, police them and make sure that they're not committing violent crimes. It's just like, it's crazy. Like, I mean, 20, 30 years ago, well, I guess even longer than that now, because I mean, 30 years ago, this was going on too. But yeah, 50, 60 years ago, it wasn't like this. And then people could raise a family on an entry-level job. Now we don't have that. So Mike, I want to know what you have to say about this. What do you think about the effects that like immigrants have had on our systems, our resources? It seems like it's just like it's straining the system more and more, and all we really need is like one straw to like break the camel's back, and then it's all just going to collapse.
Yeah, we're overspending way too much to have everybody come in. I mean, we've seen that also when you had the hurricanes with FEMA allocating money to be sent over to New York for all the housing, put them in 5-star hotels. There was even a viral video going around where one of the illegal immigrants had over, I think it was like a $15,000 food stamp card that they had. The biggest thing with these judges that drives the American people crazy is we voted for Trump. Majority of the country came together. We said we wanted Trump to be president, and we wanted to have the border taken care of. And when you have these corrupt judges coming out trying to stop the process from what the American people actually want, it puts a very bad taste in our mouth, and it's sickening to see. That's why I was happy when we actually got to see that a lot of them got sent to El Salvador, even though like it was too late. Their president even came out and was like, "Oh, too late. We've already got him over here." We're tired of it, and it's not even just what's happening to the financial system. I mean, go to parents like Lakeland Riley's parents, who went through a huge travesty of having what happened to their daughter. And there's tons of cases like that all the time that we're actually seeing. So the way that these judges are coming out, the way they're trying to block everything that Trump does, it just makes you think how much Trump would actually be able to get done for our country if he didn't have roadblocks. Every few bills, there's another roadblock. There's another roadblock. We've seen it in his last term that we had. Right. So it's very corrupt. The American people, we've come together. We've spoken out. We said what we've wanted. We want to rebuild our country. We want to bring America, make it great again. And we want to have our borders secure, and we don't want to be spending our money recklessly on illegals that are piling in. First off, every illegal that comes into the country has broken the law. They came here illegally. I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand. They are not supposed to be coming in illegally, and we're seeing all the effects of it all over our country. So sickening to see these judges. I'm not surprised it's an Obama judge. Doesn't shock me at all that that's one of the ones that's doing it. But the American people were tired of it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's just, every time I see stories like this, it's like, why is this even a conversation? And actually, that was a really good point that, like they're fundamentally criminals. And, I'm not saying that because they're like a certain way or whatever. It's just because they came into the country illegally. So it's like, if you, if you're an unwelcome guest in someone's house, or like, if you have an unwelcome guest in your house, like you wouldn't really be expecting them to be respecting the to be respecting the laws and the rules that you have over your household. So likewise with these immigrants, I mean, I don't think that we should be expecting them to really be respecting, what's going on in the country and how we run things. That's kind of why they just run buck wild. Then we have to deal with it later, and we have to expend all of our resources. So anyway, I want to talk to you guys about something else, though. Have you guys ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I think that we could use Chuck Norris on the southern border, actually. I think that'd be kind of epic. But yeah, like, have you ever wondered what happened to Chuck Norris? I mean, I used to watch Walker, Texas Ranger when I was really young, like probably back in the 90s or something. But I saw a video of him recently, and I was actually genuinely shocked. He's in his 80s, but he's still kicking butt, and he's still working out, and he's still staying active. That's kind of more so that I can say for myself. Some weeks I'm doing better than other weeks. But what's even more shocking is that he's stronger, he can work out longer, and he even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids afterwards, which I barely have energy for my one daughter right now. He did this by just making one change, if you can believe it. And he says that he still feels like he's in his 50s, which that's a pretty big difference. 30 years being like 80 after having a very physical career of being in action movies and doing martial arts. That's actually remarkable. So also his wife even said that she's made this one change too. And it's actually made it's made a big difference for her too. So, Chuck made a video that explains everything. And, if you go down to that website right there, chuckdefense.com/pundit, you can watch it there and then kind of figure out
what that one change is. I know it sounds unbelievable. But it's really just one thing. It's really just one supplement that you have to put into your routine. And it's actually something very common, very obvious, but a lot of people just don't know. But thankfully they made that video for you, so you can check it out there. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/pundit. Check it out. There's a video there that you got to watch, but it's definitely worth your while. I know that you probably hear this and we talk about it all the time, but if you haven't, I would recommend that you watch it at least one time to at least understand it and then make your judgment. And then let me know in the comments below if you got some and if you had any positive effects from it, or like how you felt on it, because I got some myself and it's actually been doing a great job for me. So anyway, the link is in the description. Again, that's chuckdefense.com/pundit. Check it out. With that said, we're going to go on to the last story. Mike, I don't know about you, but are you having fun doing Gateway Pundit in Elijah's stead? We're taking over today. I'm actually having fun. This is actually fun to do. I don't know why Elijah complains every day. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't complain about it, but I'm having fun. What do you think?
No, I'm enjoying it. I get to pretend like I'm Elijah in 4K. So,
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and it's a great time, man. Get to talk about the stories, kind of give our thoughts on it, especially because we can relate to a lot of things just like everybody else that's watching. We're just Americans that are very concerned about our country. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about the Gateway Pundit is that they don't pull any punches. They're always there to share the truth. They're always there to be one of the first on the scene to let us know what's going on. So I enjoy it very much.
Yeah.
So
also too, Jim Hoft is a legend. Obviously, he's been around this space way longer than any of us in this room. I mean, Elijah's not here, but I mean, even longer than Elijah. He's been around for a long time. And he really knows how to put together a good news organization. We're super thankful for the partnership that we have with them. I mean, yeah, just an amazing publication. Just to be, I do feel like we're a part of history here working with them. So, obviously we're trying to make history in our own right, but it's always good to be mentored by those people who have built something great and they've been around for a long time and they have a lot of wisdom to impart to the next generation. So, but anyway, with that said, kind of a not disappointing, but like a depressing kind of story. Family of U.S. attorney found dead in Virginia home reveals cause of death, which I think, and like maybe this will be in the story, but this attorney was involved in, let's just say that, people think that foul play may have been afoot. But anyway, this story is by Christina Lila, so let's just get into it. The family of a Biden-era U.S. attorney found dead in her Virginia home revealed the cause of death. Jessica Aber, a Biden-era U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, was found dead in her Alexandria, Virginia home last Saturday morning. Jessica Aber, 43, was found unresponsive in her home last Saturday morning. This morning, at approximately 9:18 a.m., Alexandria police responded to the 900 block of Beverly Drive for the report of an unresponsive woman. Officers located a deceased woman following notification of family members. The Alexandria Police Department can confirm the identity of the woman as Miss Jessica Aber, age 43, former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, police said last weekend. That's kind of just the story from the initial report. Jessica Aber's family said she suffered from epilepsy and believed she passed away after an epileptic seizure. The family said they are expecting more information from the medical examiner in the coming weeks. Police said they believe Jessica Aber died of natural causes. Foul play was not suspected. Okay. It is with tremendous sorrow that we acknowledge that the sudden passing of our beloved Jess Aber, who died in her sleep on Saturday, March 22nd. Jess suffered from epilepsy and epileptic seizures for many years and on Tuesday, March 25th, Alexandria police said in a statement that they believe her death was a result of natural causes. We expect more information from the medical examiner in the coming weeks. Our family is in shock and grieving deeply, and we respectfully request privacy as we attempt to navigate through our unspeakable loss, Jessica Aber's family said in a statement. So I'm not going to get much into it more other than that. Obviously, it's very sad. Pray for the family. I mean, I'm 35. I can only imagine reaching that level at 43 or at any age, really, and then your life is kind of unceremoniously taken from you. I guess in this case, natural cause. I think people just think that whenever someone dies in the government, that it's something more malicious. That there was a hit put out for her, maybe because of the people that she was working for. Which actually, down in the story down below, it says that she was a lead prosecutor in the high-profile case against a former ABC journalist who went missing after the FBI raided his home and seized his laptop and pleaded guilty to federal child pornography charges. So yeah, there is some weird stuff going on there. It's kind of tough with stories like this because, you know, the conspiracy theorist side like wants to scratch that part of your brain and think about the craziest outcome. But then you also kind of want to have respect for the family and say, yeah, no, she did just suffer from epilepsy, and maybe that was just what happened, was that she had a seizure. So it's sad all around. Who knows? Maybe more details will come out in the future. I'm kind of just reserving judgment on it right now because I just don't know, you know, who she was involved with, or, you know, like if someone wanted her dead. I mean, you know, being an attorney in DC, I'm sure someone wanted her dead. I'm sure someone didn't want her around, but was so serious that it stooped to that level. Who knows? We may never know. There may be a Netflix documentary about it in 10 years. Actually, maybe not even 10 years. They crank out true crime documentaries like 1,000 a year at this rate. So, I mean, maybe you'll see it on Netflix this year or on Hulu or something. So, anyway, with that said, my name is Mike Mendoza. I appreciate you guys for dealing with me again. This is my first time ever hosting a show, technically. I have hosted Elijah's show kind of in longer streams where Elijah had to step away. So if you watch our show on Rumble, it's at Slightly Offensive. You can just check it out there. We also have a new show on YouTube called Almost Serious. It's a more one-on-one style, long form, where we just like discuss like people's like origins and, you know, what they do and how they got to the point that they're in right now. We get into like deeper topics there. Slightly Offensive is more just meant to be a fun, edgy show. We tell a lot of like very crude jokes, and, you know, it's fun. So you know, if you're into that kind of stuff, check it out. Slightly Offensive on YouTube and Rumble. Also, you can check us out on Locals at ElijahSchaefer.locals.com. Check us out there. Also, you can join the Gateway Pundits Mug Club. Check it out. You know, this is such a good idea for websites. I know like Steven Crowder did this like initially back in the day, but to have like, because, you know, like people sometimes they're like, oh, why would I sign up for this for like premium content? But actually getting something physical that's actually high quality too. It's like embossed and everything. It's not just, because sometimes with mugs you'll get them and then there's screen print on there, and then you put in the washer a few times and it comes right off. This is actually embossed. Like I feel it. Like this is not coming off. So you can put this thing into the wash as many times as you want. It'll be fine. We don't use it here because there's no dishwasher in here. There's no sink in here either. We're actually kind of streaming out of a Brazilian favela as we speak now, so we have no running water. I'm just kidding. But great thing, a great mug here. Join the Mug Club at Gateway Pundit. Like I said, you know, thanks for dealing with us. Thanks for joining me and my producer over here, Michael Hennessy. You know, so with that said, thank you. And as Elijah says, God bless America. See you in the next one.